Hey folks, Studio here. Today we're going to be watching a ranked game, a very, very silly ranked game, about 1900 elo, with one of my friends. It's Texter. Let's talk about jungling. What is jungling in solo queue, in even normal games with your friends? What is jungling in competitive play? The two tend to be different. In competitive play, you usually have lots of setups. For example, if there's a 2v1 lane going on, you send three people up top, usually the jungler, and then do a 3v1 gank and just take someone out. Like that's a normal setup. At the same time, if your bot lane goes down, if your bot lane is being shut down, well, sometimes you sacrifice them. Sometimes you're like, yeah, you're gonna get your ass kicked. That's okay. Cool, cool, because we're kicking their ass top. You're down bot, and we don't care. We're up here. We're up here. And what about when you're playing with friends? All right, let's say there's a 2v2 lane that's not doing well. It's your fault. A 1v1 lane that's not doing well. It's still your fault. The other lane that's not doing well. And what if you're getting counter jungled up the wazoo? Knock you out. Because it's all your fault. People tend to pass the blame quite a bit in solo queue to literally every role. But jungle takes a lot of heat. Jungle support, I'd say, take the most heat. Then it usually varies. Because if the mid laner is not feeding, people tend to say, well, at least he's not feeding. If the jungler isn't getting ganks off, though, that's a different story. That's entirely something else. If the support isn't supporting well enough, which I don't know what that means, but I've heard it said before, it's kind of the same deal. So, what do you do as a jungle in normal queue? Your goal is make the lanes that you think will win. It's very vague and it's very odd, but you have this extra little kick. You can kind of say, I want this lane to snowball more in our favor. I want this lane to do better. Now the problem is most of the time in competitive games that's already planned out, or they have an idea of what they want to do with that snowballing. In solo queue, you are kind of up there in the wind. You are kind of like, well, I hope this guy does well because I'm going to gank his lane, and if he doesn't know how to proceed from there, I don't want to talk about it. And you have to kind of determine what you want to do. Do you save a lane? Do you try and make a lane snowball hard? Do you just keep going to one lane that you know will get the kills, even if it ends up being worth not that much because you keep dying, while other lanes are suffering? There's no clear-cut answer on that. Sometimes you might have a teammate that is just incredibly high, and no matter what you do, they will not benefit from it. You might have a teammate that's just entirely on point at the same time, though, and if you support him a little bit, he takes a long way. You support him a lot, he just becomes a monster. So let's go ahead and look at my friend's game. Is this the right? Yes, that is the right scene. So we're gonna be following its Texter on Cho'Gath. Now, like I said, when you're playing jungle solo queue, jungle and solo queue, it's brutal. All the roles are brutal in solo queue, but jungle tends to have that stigma that if you're not getting kills, if you're not snowballing lanes, it is entirely your own fault. Now, he's playing Jungle Cho'Gath, so Jungle Cho, he's a great early game ganker. How do you gank with Jungle Cho? You put Rupture down, you knock someone up in the air, they're CC'd, there's a great slow, I think it's like 60%, yeah, 60% for 3 seconds, and that's really good. But how can you go ahead and support someone when stuff like this happens? Whoops, uh-oh, danger! Then Nidalee actually gets a kill right there. But let's look what happens right here. This is really cool. We're gonna look at it from Kassadin vision, because when you see it from the top-down perspective, it's a little hard to determine what's going on. Now look for the Twisted Fate. What happens with that gank is Twisted Fate comes in through the river and ganks him. So look where Twisted Fate appears from. Okay, see there he is. There he is actually ahead of Varus, and then the gold card smacks Impact. He actually could have flashed here, and he probably could have survived. So. One, don't be too afraid to use your summoner skills, especially in dangerous situations like that. How do you flash that Lulu's cube, for example? He would have survived. Maybe. Much more likely. But what happened was, the Twisted Fate came around the corner, and because of the angle Cassie was looking at, he actually couldn't see around that corner. I mean, the little brazier, I believe that's what the little fire thing is called. That fire holder. I really want to see a brazier. I think that's not the way you pronounce that word, though. But even though it looks like you could see right through it, it was still blocking his vision, and that's why he got that CC off. Now, what could Texture have done to stop that? Really, as a whole, his team needed to purchase faster. I said this last time, buy your items quickly at the start of the game, people, because it makes jungle invades so much harder if you just have someone just show up mid lane, show up right over here really quickly. It makes it just beautifully easy to survive ganks. Most ganks. Of course, sneaky plans and stuff like that and competitive play, it's entirely different. But just normal solo queue stuff, you run forward to mid lane, you'll probably catch someone if they're going for an invade. Big maybe, though. So, his Kassadin has died. What has been used up? He uses Flash. The enemy team used 1 Ignite. So Flash for Ignite, not a great trade in favor of his team. And this means that TF, he will still be gankable, but there's nothing to stop the Flash from dodging a Rupture except for a Kassadin Silence. So they're going to need some really good synchronization or Texter to land his own Feral Scream before the Flash can happen so Twisted Fate can be locked down. Let's go ahead and follow Texter as he roams around the jungle. So it's jungle Cho'Gath. Like I said, he's got really good gank potential, but his jungle clearing is also incredibly solid. Why? That passive is really damn good. 23 health per minion he kills, so look at every creep camp. These Wraiths, for example, he's going to get an extra, let's see, that would be 92 healing. This red camp, he's going to get an extra 69 healing. So that's a lot of healing, and it builds up pretty quickly. The problem is you still need to use potions, you still need to sustain early on, but, I mean, had he been checking potions more liberally, he'd be easily at a ganking health. Which, by the way, I see a lot of people hold on to their potions in the jungle. Watch out, because if Shen showed up right now, if Shen was looking for an invade, he might have been able to shut down Texter before those health potions ticked. Alright, so, decision number 1. I just want to go back 15 seconds. Okay, so Texter's at red buff. We're on his team's vision. What do we know about the enemy team? Shen is mid lane. Impact, there is no way in hell he can do anything with a gank right now. He just doesn't have the HP. He has potions he can use, but to even come to close to a decent amount of HP will still take like 30 seconds. So mid lane, he's not going to show up there. Top lane. Well, this is not the best lane to gank. I mean, it's going to be a level 1, maybe level 2 Singe. The creep wave is pushing really hard though, so most of the enemy creeps aren't dying. And Nidalee has boots, has high move speed. She'll be very, very hard to lock down. She did get the first blood, which means she has both flask and boots, which is a huge, huge benefit top lane. So what'd she do in a situation like this? Well, as you can see, Texter thought about going mid lane, realized he couldn't do anything, and then now he's heading towards the top lane. Is that the right decision? Maybe. You don't always have to commit to ganks, because here there is still a jungle. Nidalee did not have any vision. Actually, no, we're not in her vision. She did have some vision of the Texter coming in for the gank, and he lands a Rupture. They have the Ignite going down. Texter taken really low, though, by Nidalee. What can he really do at this point? Play super far back up using Rupture to try and knock someone up. That's it. And you know what? Even though the gank wasn't successful, he still applies some pressure. He's still letting Singe farm up a bit. We'll go to full vision. Here is the ward that spotted them out. And Texter, he's not winning the lane, but he's at least getting some breathing room for Singed. And it's not successful in what a lot of people would call successful, but it's at least doing something beneficial for the team. At this point, though, this is where it gets a little dicey, because they don't spot Shen until it's too late. Singe gets hit by the CC. It doesn't have Ghost Up, doesn't have anything to escape, and just goes down. I will say they focused way too much on the top lane. They didn't focus on the fact that Singe could be hit at bot, and that did punish them quite a bit, or it could be at top, and that punished them quite a bit. So Texter is now doing what I would call the third option for jungling. Farm, gank, counter gank, or counter jungle are the big options. You can counter gank, but I'd still call that ganking. It's like you either fight in your jungle, you fight in the lanes, or you fight in the enemy jungle. And now he's going to farm up a bit, and this is important to do. You never want to focus too much on ganks, unless they're all going to be successful. Like, if you're ganking a lane that with a Scion in it, and you're like a level 6 Warwick, and you're going to get a kill every time, yeah, go for it, go crazy. But if not, you know, if you can't reliably do it, you do need to spend some time farming up, just trying to not fall too far behind. And I mentioned before, TF still has his flash up. Why is gank successful? Well, he waits on the flash. And a lot of people tend to do this, and this is actually what we saw earlier on in the game when Casting gave it first blood. It's like the Rupture comes out and he thinks, you know what, if this hits me, I can just flash it. But you have to really estimate and realize the CC aim he's going to have. The Rupture lands, the Silence lands, a second Silence lands, and what can he do to survive? Not much. So don't be afraid to use flash in situations like this, because, I mean, he burns his flash way too late once he gets nervous, once he freaks out that he might be dying. But, obviously, that's, well, that's too late. Okay, let's go to standard camera, so we get less of that camera shenanigans going on. So Texter, what's he done so far? We want kill some creeps in his own jungle, went top lane, tried to secure a kill, spent a lot of time up there, and they were able to get a kill on Singed. Goes mid lane, secures a kill. He is being helpful, he is being useful. His turnout may not be the best overall, like with Singed dying, but he's at least contributing to the team. And this is, I'd say, what a lot of jungler or people hate about junglers, when they fade into the jungle and just never show up anywhere else. You know, sometimes they have to, sometimes there's just nothing to be done on the map. But, you know, Texter is still applying the pressure, still trying to do something. That's respectable. Maybe he shouldn't have been top lane and try to get the other gank on Nidalee. And they did not see Singed or Shen, despite having a ward there, but that's kind of everybody's fault. Where were the pings on Singed? Where was the call to retreat from Singed? Where was, like, the whole communication from the team? Maybe there was, but we didn't see it through the all chat. So, if you're ever in a situation where you think a jungler can't get a gank, tell them. Tell them that it's a bad idea. Now, Texter here makes the big mistake, which I think a lot of people do against Nidalee and Caitlyn and just anybody with traps. Always assume this is going to be warded. Always assume there's going to be something in there to spot you. Okay? When you see lots of pro players gank, sometimes they'll walk through bushes where they know there isn't a trap, but generally, like let's say they're going to gank Nidalee, they'll come around this brush, because you know for a fact there isn't any trap there. Alright, so Texter, he roams back to mid lane, so he's definitely going for a gank-oriented jungle. He's only at 19 CS versus Shen's 24. He's still level 5 though, he's gotten all the big creeps, and he's still very, very scary. The gank goes off, Shen gets a taunt off, they kind of trade damage for damage. Not much mana left on Cassidon, not much mana left on TF. They're both playing defensively. Ooh. Okay, Texter does go ahead and hold the lane. Now it's important to remember that the experience you get in the jungle is decent. It is good experience, but what you can get from clearing a wave is usually quite a bit and very supplemental. So if there's ever a situation where there's, you know, a creep wave, and not just 1 or 2 creeps, for example, but just like 4 to 6, that you can hold in the mid lane or in the lane very quickly while someone goes back and buys, do that. Get that extra little bit of experience. The jungle creeps do give good experience, but anything you get in lane is going to be huge. It's not uncommon right now with or past a game to see a jungler actually fall behind a support, and that's a little scary. Now, what did Texter just do? He just snagged a blue buff. This is something I hadn't seen before because I kind of scanned through the video quickly, but sharing your buffs. You want to share your buffs if you think one of two things will happen. A, that the person you're giving it to will benefit from it. If you have a mid lane Katarina, blue buff will be okay on her, but you know, if you're someone like Skarner or Mumu in the jungle, you probably want it for yourself. If you have someone like Cass in the mid lane who benefits from it quite a bit, the question is going to be, can they survive? So if someone is losing their lane too hard, then they don't need blue buff, because they might just die and give it away, so don't risk that. There, I think Aston with blue buff could have done some big strides against good old-fashioned Twisted Fate. Okay, fight top lane. MVP Dare walks out the brush, good little rupture, does land onto him, and Texter starts the fight. Now, why does MVP Dare die? It's what we saw before. It's just the chain of events. This is just people not using their flash. MVP Dare did see the rupture go down. He was in the brush, so he could see it spawning. And had he flashed a half second earlier, he would have survived. Or he could have gone straight for Ozos. Or Ozos. Now, decision making in times of need. Okay, MVP Dare. He's going for Ozos. He takes him down to 240 HP. He knows Fling is down. You can see it's on cooldown because it just hit him. He doesn't go for the kill. And it's important to note that you either commit hard or you retreat hard. In the case of retreating hard, that's what he's trying to do, but he didn't use flash. He didn't try to make it the best retreat. He actually might have been able to take out Ozos right there had he turned and used a Q. But then again, Texter's ultimate would have finished him off, so never mind that. But I'm actually really surprised to see the passive play right now, because most people tend to go for the all-in And I'm going to be honest, the all-in is something that you have to gauge how well you can do it. In the case of Derek, why does he die? He gets hit by a rupture. Had he not been hit by a rupture, there's very little Texture could have done to catch up with him. He would have had a blown flash to auto-attack and apply red buff, but Nidalee is so fast, that wouldn't really matter that much. Especially because Nidalee is, going to be fighting in the brush. Had he used a flash defensively and not gotten hit by the rupture, he would have survived that too. So, do not be afraid to conserve your flashes. Do not be afraid of those summoner spells being used, because they are important to use. They are great skills, and sometimes you need to use them, and it's not going to be the most efficient, but it keeps you alive, it keeps you from giving away a kill. Now, this fight bot. Why does this fight work? Well, how much damage does Dragon do? 145 with a 0.7 attack speed, which is pretty good. Despite the fact that it's a 3v2, the damage is just so high from Dragon, it allows its texture and impact to force them off. Now, when I said a lot of people didn't go for the offense, this is what I mean. Flashing next to a Cho'Gath that has Rupture and Feast Up, and the Cho'Gath does have a little bit of AP, so going to sting a little more than you normally see. That is the offense I'm used to in solo queue. I think that's the offense most people are used to in solo queue. So you don't really need to be that crazy on the offense, too. Sometimes you can let a kill go. Now, I don't want to send conflicting messages. So why would it be okay for Nidalee to have tried to fight that Singe top lane? Well, Singe didn't have any abilities up. The one ability that he could use to disengage is going to be his ultimate and fling. Or two abilities are going to be ultimate and fling. The puddle isn't that good because of the leap from Nidalee, and neither is fling. And neither is the ultimate because you're fighting the brush, so Singe didn't have fling up even. And there were lots of options being denied. TF's case, Casson was out of options, but the Cho'Gath, he had everything up. And unlike Nidalee, who has leap and really high mobility to avoid that rupture, TF doesn't. So knowing when to go in a lot of the time is just kind of being aware of your opponent's cooldowns and if you can abuse them or not for it. Sometimes when you go all in and your opponent has everything up, they just turn around and kill you. And like I said, Nidalee just doesn't care about the pool. She just leaps out of it. Now, earlier I mentioned you have a bunch of choices. Do you jungle, do you farm, do you counter gank, and what lanes do you gank? So how are the lanes doing? Singed, he's 0-1-1, he's 30 CS behind Nidalee. He's not doing very well, but maybe he can just start snowballing up top or start just farming. Mid lane Caston's at 51 CS to TF's 52, and he's actually getting ganked right now. One good Rift Walk, and he survives. Can he do it? Yeah, hell yeah. So, and bot lane is 0-2 and 1-1, so they're just not doing well. His focus is on top lane, though, and I'm going to criticize him for it. To kill Nidalee requires landing a Rupture. Nidalee has a really good defensive option for the Rupture, so if he ever comes in from a side where he's spotted, it's over. Nidalee's just not going to be hit. If he does try and catch her by surprise, she can still flash it. She can still, get into the ultimate form and get out of it, even though flash is on cooldown. So he never really has that good of an option. So even though Singe is in trouble, the best he can really do is support the lane and let him get a bit of CS. But if he ever tries to go for those ganks, unless he shows up and just kind of pushes her away to let him CS, it's probably not going to be that useful to Singe. And Nidalee, what's she going to keep doing? Just whack at him. Though she actually lets Singe get a bit too close a few times, and it hurts for her. Now, Caston lane's a bit easier to gank. You can go for the silence, you can go for the slow. He has options to really set stuff up in Twisted Fate. Well, we know his flash is down because he used it very recently and got nommed. And then bot lane. Bot lane is a fun lane to gank, and I think a lot of people underestimate how hard or overestimate how hard it is to gank bot. There are a few things that make it easier. Pink wards, for example. You put a pink ward down, you know that area is clear, and you can work with that. Like, let's say there's a pink ward in river covering this brush. You know that's clear. You know that if you can get to that area, they're not going to spot you when you go in. Also, knowing where the enemy has wards in the first place is awesome, because here, well, blue team doesn't have any wards down. They're running completely blind. So this fight starts breaking out. Let's watch this fight. I'll cover it again in slow motion. And Texture will be surviving that. Actually, this Nunu owns, by the way, because he saw his ultimate up, and he's just waiting for it. It's like, come on, get in the brush, get in the brush. But he does retreat. So let's talk about this fight, why it went so well, why it went so poorly for both sides, what happened even. It was a long fight, too. So there are a couple key moments. So let's just look bot. This is when they're setting up for the fight. You know, Varus and Lulu are here. They don't have any ward coverage. It's going to be a 4v3 starting out, and TF can port in to make it a 4v4. So ultimate lands onto Nunu, and it's going to chain straight to Vayne. Varus starts attacking Vayne like he should. You need to shut down the AD carry in those 2v2s, or she does too much damage. Vayne takes a ton of damage. Varus gets CC'd for a bit, and Vayne does something really cool. She has the ultimate, she tumbles, and she goes into the brush. So for Varus' vision, he doesn't see her go in there. He sees her for like a split second, and when he can finally turn to start attacking her, well, she's alive, and that lets him get that final hit. But that's how the fight starts. And I have to say, the play there is phenomenal. Nadio may have not known if there was a ward there, but the fact that he tumbled and just went to somewhere where he thought he would be safe, because he wasn't sure if he could get out of range of Varus just by tumbling back, meant that, you know, he was trying to do something. He was trying to be aggressive, trying to do something that let him stay in the fight, or at least wouldn't give away the kill for free, and that's respectable. That's something a lot of people, you know, when they get pushed against the wall, they just let themselves keep getting shoved and die. In this case, Vayne literally positioned herself in front of the wall, but that wall was in a brush. Okay, so the fight continues. This right here is traditional solo queue chasing. Everybody's grouped up. Look at that. Look at that Shen taunt. Look at that beautiful, beautiful Shen taunt. I will say, by the way, Texture landed a great rupture that knocked up Shen the second he showed up. So, Shen taunts out. They don't go for Shen right away. They still chase down Lulu. And because of that, because they're going so far in instead of just going for whoever's in the front line, which is very solo queue-ish, well, Vayne gets a kill into Lulu, but Cassidy does get taken down. And why does Vayne get that kill into Lulu? Because Twisted Fate didn't stun her. Excuse me. Instead he went for the Cassidy. Does Shen go down? Not quite. Texture's able to survive, able to just push out. Nadio gets hit by the card. And I thought he might have been able to actually take out the Singed, but he did not tumble for it, and that eliminated the chances. Then top lane literally dies, so cool. Ended up being a 3-4-2. So not a bad situation overall. Gold lead still in favor of the enemy team, but hey, they fought a good fight. Now, what were some of the big key points from that fight? Like just how people responded, what worked, what didn't work. Vayne, for example, had that really good juke into the jungle, just saying, alright, I may not be able to get out of range of the fight, I might still be stuck fighting someone after this, and I'll have no HP and probably die. But using that tumble and that split second to get to defense and safety, that let her get a kill, that let her almost escape the fight. They grouped up really hard to go for Lulu, which let Shen get that really good taunt off. Cassin was tanking the turret at the time, so when they tried to rift walk forward to get the kill into Lulu, instead of going for the Shen who was right next to them, probably would have survived, but at least isn't as risky. They end up losing Cassin for that. So really, this game is all about finding the right level of greed. So why is it okay to go after a Singed top lane as Nidalee instead of a Cassin and bot lane after a Lulu who didn't have anything up? Because the Twisted Fate that was coming in after Cassin was going to have a guaranteed stun. Nidalee up top lane could have outplayed and not gotten hit by the Cho'Gath rupture. And that's kind of the story all around. People love to go all in. I love going on. I love just like right-clicking on someone and taking my hands off the keyboard. I don't do it often. I've only done it a couple times, but it's so much fun when you can do that. But why is it a terrible idea? Because it's stupid. Because if you do something like that every single time, you're going to get punished, the enemy team will catch on, and you might start running into counter ganks. It does work for some people. If you can control your aggression enough and like set up these awesome dives, even if they don't work out, you can deny CS and stuff like that. And so people used to say about Silsoul when he feeds, but still wins. Silsoul doesn't feed as much as people say, but he tends to set up ganks or send up dives and aggressive plays where even if he does die, he denies like 10 CS at the same time, so it's still fine. And if he does get a kill, then hey, that's awesome. He comes out super far ahead. So a lot of what can determine whether or not you can be greedy is what skills the enemy has up. If it's someone like Twisted Fate, does he have a gold card above his head? Did he just toss that gold card out at somebody else? Then you have a 6-second span where you can just rush at him, and he's going to have nothing to defend you besides damage. maybe, or defend against you besides damage. Maybe he can ult away, but maybe you can interrupt him. Now this fight right here, this is an example of, you know, one of those times where maybe you can just go YOLO. At the same time, they don't know if Shen has flash up, and they wisely back off. But this does give a chance for Twisted Fate to go ahead and gank top lane successfully. And this is what I say about everything is about trade. This is an obvious example of a good time to do Dragon. You just chase Shen away to the mid lane. He's about half HP. Twisted Fate went top, Nidalee's still top lane. That's a good time to go for the Dragon. People apply logic to Dragon and Baron very quickly. It's like, alright, you can do Baron because no one's nearby, or they're all dead, or they're all bot, and it's accessible to us. You can do Baron because we're going to have Cho'Gath Feast Smite as a really good combo, so they can't steal it from us, even if the jungler is alive. People tend to be a little less cautious and a little less reactionary with their logic in fights. And this makes sense because you have less time to think about it, you have less time to react. How can you say, oh man, we should go ahead and back off this lane and not go for this dive right here? Well, once you're in, you're in. People tend to just not communicate. That was a good example of a solid dive. It was a 2v1, and if the gold card did land, well, there was someone else to take him out. Though Texter did not have his feast up. That would be the one thing I didn't like about that game. No feast. This fight for here, for example, Caston, he can move forward when he knows the leap isn't up. Nidalee has leap up available again, then he backs off. When he sees leap used, he can just go ahead, walk forward, throw another silence out, and just hope she doesn't flash and kill him, which she might have been able to do there. Now, this might seem like really basic stuff, but you have to make it a habit, and you have to make it something that you can do while playing and not thinking about it. Like, I always give good examples of bot lane of situations when you engage. If you see Leona miss a Zenith Blade, then it has a ranged support and ranged AD, which I'm assuming is bot lane, you should go ahead and pressure Leona and the AD carry you're up against really heavily. Because if she has to flash Q in to do any CC, or you have to walk up to her, then that's awesome. Chances are that means she won't be able to do anything. If you are playing against a Taric, and he uses his stun, and it hits a creep, he misclicks, or it hits the support, and then it phase and they didn't do anything, but they're still nearby. Start fighting him. He's not going to have his stun up, he's not going to have that CC. And that is kind of the case across the board for every fight. You have to realize what resources the enemy has available. And you can kind of think of it from a map perspective, you can think about it from just a one-on-one fight perspective. Here, for example, look at the vision that red team has. Do they have anything to spot the Twisted Fate? No, and despite that, Nunu Vayne pushes up really hard. Now I know you can say, well, they weren't that pushed up, they still have flashes available. Yeah, TF doesn't care about that. And Shen also showed up himself. So that's an obvious example. If you don't have the ward coverage, you can't really push up. And it's why globals are so punishing, especially in solo queue, because chances are, of your entire team of all 5 members, not all 5 members will respect the fact that TF has a global, the fact that Shen has a global. Now Varus, this is his ultimate right there, and this actually forces the blue team on the retreat. And I like play like this, where they use a resource and they don't keep pushing it, they don't keep risking it. You don't always have to play like a huge wimp. I don't want to make it sound like that. You don't have to be like, oh, I missed a skill shot, better retreat. If you are farther ahead, for example, it's a lot easier for you to do. If you use a resource, but your opponent uses a more important resource that is going to be up in a much longer amount of time, you can still fight them, you can still punish them, even though you might be missing a stun. For example, let's say like Vladimir pulls, but the enemy you're up against is a Cassiopeia who misses her ultimate. You can now start pressuring quite a bit, and you don't have to worry about just being stunned and killed right away. In the case of this bot lane fight, they know Varus doesn't have ult up. They thought they did have a Lulu still with her own ultimate up. Shen still had his own ultimate up, and TF didn't have his up. So in the end, the blue team still could have done quite a bit in response to it, but they didn't. On their minds, Varus ult being down was enough for them to engage the fight. I'm actually really surprised there, because Shen ultimate and Lulu ultimate would have completely turned that around and been 2 free kills. Now, this was a cool little play. League of Legends has a fairly robust auto attack system. There's 3 parts to the auto attack. the front swing, the actual attack animation, and the back swing. The front swing is when you're starting to do the attack before it lands. So we're probably not going to see that many auto attacks because Singe will die, but we're going to see a really good example of it from Texture right here. So he's going to cancel out of the front swing. This is why he doesn't get an auto attack on a Nidalee. I double checked this. Nidalee should get a red buff applied if Cho'Gath lands an auto attack. So watch what happens. He flashes forward, the auto attack is still up in the air. This is the front swing. This is why someone like Warwick is really bad at CSing the top lane, because he has to raise his pulse so damn high. It's just super obnoxious. But this is the front swing from Cho'Gath. Watch it finish. He canceled it at the last possible second I've ever seen to go for the feast. Spells also have cast times like this. Front swing would be the ultimate coming out from Cho'Gath. He's starting to bite down. The animation is when it plays, and you can't cancel out of it. And then backswing is just like a recoil, but usually League of Legends is pretty good about those. And that's what animation canceling used to be in Warcraft 3 and other games. You would just right-click the backswing, so it didn't affect you. But there, Texture right-clicked out of the front swing. He right-clicked out of the actual attack. A lot of characters can do that, and it's why someone like Twisted Fate, every now and then, you'll actually get a card to fly out of his hand, and it will do nothing. Vayne can do it quite a bit too. If anybody has a lengthy front swing, it will sometimes put you in a position where you just start missing CS or start auto-attacking a half second too late. You can watch the full animation here. Cho'Gath has a decent attack speed because he's jungle Cho with the higher attack speed, but it's when he raises his claws up in the air to attack. Now, before it was all about the decisions that the jungler makes, what do you do now? You're at the 20-minute mark. You're Cho'Gath. You can try and gank lanes, but the enemy team has Twisted Fate and Shen. If you're ever in a 2v1, it's now a 3v1. Sorry. It's going to happen. The Kassadin may not be around to roam. If he is, maybe you have a chance at winning the fight, just assassinating someone really quickly. But what do you do as jungler once you're in the mid to late game? Like, what is your prerogative? And this is something that's not necessarily easy to answer, because you may not be able to jungle on your own. The mid laner will probably be taking a lot of your jungle, so will the top laner. You can't just rush objective, you can't just go straight to dragon, but you have to set it up. So your goal goes from this guy who just kind of sits in the jungle and farms to someone who's going to be more roaming towards where the action is. Maybe you can start setting up some ganks. Maybe you're just going to be there in case the gank happens and you have to react to it. And the whole process of counter ganking and just trying to set stuff up, it's not easy to explain, but you go where you think you are needed. So for example, there's this big fight bot lane. It's a little bit too late for Texture, but if he'd showed up earlier, maybe he could have done something. Actually, the enemy team's probably going to push. He can still show up now and still be a little bit useful. I think Kassadin just missed a Rift Walk. Over the wall. I saw him move in the minimap and not get over the wall. I'm like, So, despite the fact that the enemy team already killed their AD carry, he's still looking for this fight now. And maybe they can land it. Maybe they can secure it. This is another one of those situations. Shen doesn't have his ultimate up. 2EF doesn't have his ultimate up, so they probably can't land those kills very safely. But, they're pressuring them out of the lane. They're stopping the turrets from being taken. They're being useful despite the fact that 2 members of the team died. Now, doing a dragon like this, I really like it when people do dragon, because it is not that hard to kill. It is very rarely that unsafe, and it's a benefit that builds up and lets you kind of catch back up quite a bit. So there, Shen checks for the dragon, but it already died. It dies super quickly past the 15-minute mark, and they're able to go ahead, deal a ton of damage. Can they kill him? Yes, because Singe flung him back. Dragon is an objective that it matters later on in the game. The 1,000 gold builds up quite a bit, but you have to make sure you don't take any big risks. Now what happens there? Kassadin tried to recall in a bush that's warded. This is something that happens a lot in competitive scene too, and it happens more and more often because wards being everywhere is becoming the norm. So where should you recall? Where you think it's safe. Now where should you think it's safe? Who knows, man? Who knows? Alright, as fight breaks up, let's go ahead and talk about it after it occurs. Alright, two big things here. Allocation of resources. Watch Nunu ult. Watch Nunu ultimate. His ultimate, he's still level 10, so he only does 625 damage. But he doesn't use his ultimate despite the fact that Shen is coming in and they need the extra damage to really finish him off. Vayne is also caught by surprise there. She was walking forward with the intent to turn and start killing Lulu. But come on, man. Use the ultimate. Just, like a quarter of a second channel would have been enough. You just need like an extra 200 damage, but no. No. And of course the ultimate will also apply that Stoneball debuff and reduce attack speed. So don't be afraid to use ultimates, especially Nunu ultimates where any benefit you get from it is fine. Now Texter's going to be caught up mid lane. He's kind of wandered into this position. And I'd say this is kind of like the normal solo queue death. What is the vision on the red side? They've got some wards bot lane, nothing covering mid, nothing covering anything else. And Texter tries to get this mid turret down, which is taken very low. But he can't quite get it. Actually, maybe he could have ran towards Cinch after rupturing PF and just backing off, but it does not happen. So solo queue deaths that throw games tend to be just the catches. There's one guy wandering somewhere and dying. We've all done it. We've all played that game in solo queue or normal queue when you first start playing. We just wander somewhere, you think, I have to be here to farm, I have to be here to put a ward down, I have to be here for something. It doesn't even matter if you have to be there. You just click there sometimes just because it felt like the right thing to do. It's a button you press at that moment. And you give away a kill, and all of a sudden it's a 45, and the enemy can start going for Baron, they can start pressuring other objectives, which did not happen this time, despite the fact that so many kills happened, nobody was in a good position for Baron. Nobody also pushed afterwards, but that's a different story. Those are the catches that tend to throw games, that tend to make bad stuff happen. Like, for example, here Singe is being chased down. Locally, he's singed. But had he been someone else and just not been quite as mobile, he could have gone down, and this could be just a devastating situation. So, what should you do once you don't have that vision? Just try and put wards down, or just go somewhere that you think is safe. Like I said, the throws tend to be from the catches, because not only when someone gets caught themselves do they die, but usually the rest of the team shows up to back them up. Watch here. What does Lulu do? Lulu turns and starts heading back towards the fight. Like, TF is boned, I need to be there, I need to ult him, I need to save him. The ult doesn't get off, unfortunately. And over here it's like, well, now they've shown up. Lulu's kinda screwed, and so is Shen. One of them is gonna die. And what happens? One of them dies. Those are how games are thrown. Those fights, those moments where one person gets caught out and everybody just immediately goes after them and chases them. And this is something that, you know, I've dealt with it, pro players have dealt with it, everybody's dealt with it. Just, if you see someone in a dangerous position, you can't help them, let them die. It's okay. It's okay, man. You know, sometimes people just have to die. So, sometimes it's in a game of League of Legends and you don't want them to die, but you can't save them. That was a PSA to always apply your Qs into lead before you leap in. This is kind of what I mentioned before about knowing when to fight, what resources the enemy team have available. So they don't know about the flash, they don't know what's up, but Cho'Gath still had Feral Scream up, so this means when Derek goes for the engage, the Feral Scream shuts down any follow-up leaps, it shuts down any ability to escape. It actually shuts him down from using the takedown right here and killing Kassadin. Had Nidalee pre-gasted takedown, she could have turned and killed Kassadin the second he showed up. Probably still would have died, but hey, better than nothing. And that's the PSA. If you're going to leap in after someone, you probably want to use takedown before you hit them, just in case. Only if they have a big slow, or a big silence like that. If not, you know, just whatever. Doesn't matter. Allocation of resources. Allocation of resources. Rupture was still up. Condemn was still up. Everything was still up. You're dead to Twisted Fate because you tried to ult in onto a bunch of people who had CC, and very importantly, one of the CCs could be timed to directly hit you the second you landed. So, how do you think about allocation of resources? How do you remember what the enemy has off the top of your head? The answer is you don't. It's 20 spells and 10 summoners, and then possibly passives and possibly more spells that you have to remember the enemy has access to. So sometimes it's something really obvious. Twisted Fate just ulted. You know it's going to be down for probably at least 90 seconds. 2 minutes right there. So They know for at least 2 minutes they should be safe. Usually people tend to lowball that number. It's like 90 seconds his ultimate will be back up. Because things like blue buff and cooldown reduction can dramatically affect the cooldown. So there's stuff like that. There's the big scary ultimates. Now those usually you can remember them a bit on your own. People tend to forget anyways, but it's something you have to actively think about a lot more. Other stuff I'd say is reactive. If you see Twisted Fate use a card and it falls off, like he doesn't land the gold card, that's when you go in. In this case, Kassadin, like he saw TF use a card and that's where he thought it was a good time to go in. Not quite necessarily. In this fight, they've seen the enemy team use a lot of spells, use a lot of abilities to escape. It's like, let's keep chasing them. They land one Rupture, maybe they'll get a kill. Because, gold card was down, the slows were down on Varus, and stuff like that. Wasn't successful in the end, but hey, they applied their pressure. And if you can just manage to always be reacting to spells like that, always looking for that chance to go in and punish someone for using an ability, that's how you make the big plays happen. That's how you really punish fights. Like I said, the most obvious examples of a resource being down is bot lane, because supports have such high cooldowns. So someone like Taric uses a stun, for 14 seconds-ish, that he can't do it again. So that's when you punish him, that's when you go in, that's when you be a big meanie. And people just need to do this across the board. And it's easy to say do it in lane, because it's just you versus that one guy. What makes it tricky is when you have to do it in the middle of a big team fight, because there's so much more to manage. Why should Kassadin have not gone in right there? Because Twisted Fate had a gold card available to him. Shen missed his taunt, but it's not just that one guy you gotta worry about. I think we all do this. We all see that one opening that really isn't an opening, and we go for it, because like, oh yeah, Shen missed his taunt. Let's do it. Let's take him out. They're weak. They're not. They totally aren't. In that case, though, Shen didn't have the energy, and gold card wasn't up, and now they can keep fighting. This Lulu's pro. Pain is just pro as hell right now. She's just playing super far aggressive. This is kind of the same deal though. Lulu only has 80 mana, which is it enough for Whimsy? Yeah, it is. And it's not even needed. And the exhaust blew the cleanse. Why did Varus know to do that? Why did Varus know he could go ahead and take out the Kassadin in that situation? Kassadin rolled up, used his 2 spells, left the opening, boom, exposed. And that is just the basics right there. The one-on-one situations, I think people tend to be easier to acclimate to. It's just easier to watch one person's spells and tell what's up and what's not up. So, for example, let's say you're playing against a Malphite 1v1. And you expect the ultimate, you can flash dodge and try to punish him, which a lot of people do, and that's why Malphite isn't played so much in Korea, because they know people can flash his ultimate. And that is that is the gimmick of a lot of 1v1s, just knowing what spells the enemy has up. If you know they have an ability that can abuse you, just be ready to spot it and back it off when you see it come out. You expect Twisted Fate to wildcard. You dodge his wildcards, that's a lot of his damage reduced. If you use a gold card, you wait for it to fall off, and you punish him then. And if you could just manage to do that in team fights, the more people you can do it against, the better you'll be in team fights. The more you'll be able to control your aggression, control when to go in, when to be passive, and it's super awesome to be able to do that. And like the smartest players, the best players tend to have that ability to recognize very quickly when someone has left themselves open. Just more examples. If Kassadin Rift walks in to get some CS or get some harass, that's a good time to gank him. If Nidalee goes into Kruger form, leaps forward, or just left to human form, that's a good time to punish her. Stuff like that. Or you can go ahead and play aggressive when people use their mobility or escape options. If you ever see a Vladimir use pull to farm in the middle of the lane, kill him right afterwards, because he's got nothing on you. Nothing. Now, aside from just acclimation of resource and all that aside, what do you do at this point in the game? I'd say that the easiest option is to push lanes forward, try and catch someone out, and then punish them from there. So in this case, they have lanes pushing forward, Kassadin tries to go very man mode, and it doesn't work out. But go ahead, show that fight with a little bit more detail. Shen still has his ultimate up, TF still has his own ultimate up. Nidalee is in the mid lane, but she's very fast herself, so even though this is a 3v5, very quickly becomes a 4v5, then 5v5. Caston, why was it a bad idea to go forward? Everybody was there, man. You weren't going to be able to do anything. Come on. So Vayne just got a goddamn Quadra. What sets that up? What sets up that really, really good Quadra to get on that very, very special Snowbally character? So Cassidon goes in, takes Lou down to half HP. And this is where I'd say this is where kiting comes in. This is where this Nunu ultimate is just doing an impressively huge amount of work. It may not be obvious, but the fact that Nunu is keeping them from just easily running away, that is major. That is what sets up the rupture right there. That means that when Shen shows up, he's not going to be where he wants to be. And even though Varus has his ultimate coming up, Varus is trying to survive. They're now in a position where they're taking a lot of AoE damage. Sin's going to be able to fling back whoever they want, and they're boned. They're screwed. Shen, of course, tries to play the big hero and save them, but well, he can. Now, what is the beneficial part of this for team? What is the bad part? Well, MVP Dare is about to die to the turret. He survives barely, but he almost dies. So the split pushing that occurred wasn't enough to really do anything. It was really trying to backdoor a full HP turret because she thought, well, the team is screwed. I can't really do anything. She comes close. She takes it pretty low, but it's not enough to secure the kill. Which means they can still take this inhibitor, they can still take objectives out. Split pushing is one of those things that it's hard to do in solo queue, but it does present a really good problem to the enemy. If you're split forgot how to speak, sorry. If you're split pushing a lane, and the enemy team doesn't respond to it, and they go for a team fight, even if they win that team fight, you might be taking an inhibitor out, you might be taking more important objectives out. And it's very important to remember that. It's very important to remember that you can, despite winning a team fight, what really matters in the end, towers, inhibitors, and the Nexus. So, alright, you win a team fight, that's awesome, but what if the enemy team just takes out your inhibitor at the same time? You're forced into that defensive position. That's why Texture, despite the fact that Nidalee was low on HP, immediately recalled after that team fight, just to try and stop the split push. She wasn't going to take the mid turret out, definitely without the HP that you'd normally want for it, but he still wants to make sure not too many objectives don't go down. That's an important kill. That's an important death right there, and that's standard solo queue death. That's just Caston roaming too far into the mid lane. They have very few wards out, enough for the enemy jungle to be annoying, but not enough to really secure anything. Also, props off to you Yonkers, you try to do it. It just wasn't the time to ultimate. And if you ever find yourself in games where, it's late game, you do have decent escape options, still play defensively, still play like you can die very quickly and very easily. Because that is how games are thrown. People get overconfident, they try and do stuff they really shouldn't, and they die. Now, Caston's dead for 10 seconds, the inhibitor is now looking pretty tasty. This is the big chance for the blue side to make up for their inhibitor being down. Sin tries to move forward, gets hit by a lot of CC, can't really throw anybody back, but now he's trying to be intimidating and waiting for life steal to come in, and they really can't do that much. Caston does have time to respawn. At the same time, his poke is limited. He can't go all in, and he didn't have the max level E available to him. And they start trading 1-for-1, which is not what they want to do. At the same time, this is a good situation to stall in because the more time they're wasting, the more damage being done to the red Nexus and red inhibitors. That's right, Nexus being exposed now. They got one turret up still, but that's not a position you want to be in. All of a sudden, these split pushing creeps are that much stronger now that they don't have to kill one turret. They'll die a lot slower back here. Don't do that. I'm being harsh. I'm being blunt. I'm really just not giving, I'd say, very clear advice, but we always have those moments, those chances where it's like, I can kill a good dude, I can kill a nerd, I can wreck him, I can destroy him, I can just kill that guy, we'll win the game, it will be so cool. I've done it, you've done it, we've all done it. But generally when people go for those plays, it's very closed-minded, it's very focused. And Caston, even though it looked like TF was going to go down instantly, I mean, think of the risk. He gets the kill. What do they have? All right, they have one enemy member down. It'll be a 5v4 for a bit. Maybe they can go for Baron. But now Caston's down. Now it's a big chance for them to try and apply pressure to Baron that's no longer available. In the enemy team, they're in a much more accessible position. That's a minute wasted, where Caston's just not going to be around. They know it, and they don't have to worry about some objectives on the map. They still have to worry about Baron because the enemy team is doing it. Now, a Baron situation like this, how does it start? Do they have a pink ward here? Is there any other visibility for the blue side besides the pink ward? They have these wards over here. And it's important to remember that even though you might have a pink ward, or a ward at Baron, and you know there aren't any wards around it, by clearing it, you kind of give away the hint that something could happen. That's why a lot of pro teams will actually try and set up baits when they clear wards. They'll clear wards at Baron, and then everybody will just hide behind a wall trying to CC somebody. So this Baron attempt, it's very safe. Like, I really like the Baron attempt, but at the same time, the enemy team knows it's going to happen because of the ward clearing, because they spotted the enemy, trying to take out the vision that they have there. It's also important to remember that wards will generally never be just at one spot. They chase them away. They have the Baron buff. Caston doing ridiculously high damage. It doesn't get caught, and they do what they need to do. They catch Baron and chase people away. Now they have the buff. Now is the time to really start applying pressure. Except Caston does this. No, Caston, no! No, Caston, no! And Caston going for the maximum Yolage. So now they're in the 4v5, and now Nilly's actually backdooring their mid turret, trying to take out their mid inhibitor. As Vayne is trying to backdoor the Nexus at the same time. This game is just completely falling apart. We're gonna review this. Don't worry. All right, what the hell happened there? Okay. So the first thing that happens is Caston goes forward. Vayne's over here to the side, and like I said, split pushing is one of those things where if it's not stopped, you can win games. So Caston, he goes forward, immediately dies. What does Vayne do? Charges towards the Nexus. There's a lot of pings going on from both sides, so both sides were aware that this could happen. The fight's going on mid. Vayne's just going for this mid turret. Nidalee going for that mid inhibitor. They did take out the turret. It is exposed down to about 2400 HP, 2500 HP. Now, this is the play of literally everybody trying to make their own big plays happen. Vayne's going for this big Nexus finish, which, she is Vayne. She kills it very quickly. Nidalee's going for this big inhibitor finish. Kind of the same thing. Nidalee kills it a lot slower, of course, but getting the inhibitor would be huge. Why doesn't it work? Because the Caston play, the Caston tried to make his own big manly play, shut down Varus, which, if they kill him early in the fight, means, guess what? He's dead. That's the big AD, and without an AD in the fight, there's probably no chance the blue side can win it. So what's going on? Vayne goes for these turrets. The fight's going on mid lane. They cannot win the fight. Caston's dead, Singe is dead, and because that fight was not won, what ends up happening? Vayne gets whimsied, turned into an adorable cupcake, and then TF shows up, and they can't finish the Nexus, and now Vayne is gone. Now the Baron buff is down from 3 people. Now that was an awesome play. The enemy Nexus is naked and exposed, and that is a horrible position to be in. This Nexus, or this inhibitor, still survives with barely any HP, but why did it go so wrong for all sides involved? Well, all sides had their big attempts at big plays being done. In this case, Nidalee's still going for that big play attempt. And does she get it? Does she get it? She gets it. Can't she get away from the big Cho'Gath, though? Yeah, she can. Simply. Sorry. And also, Shen still had ultimate up. So, think about what the game is like now. Gold, dead even. Baron buff on a couple of people in the enemy team. Down for 2, though. So now, all of a sudden, it may have looked like a big advantage before, and if blue team does lose a fight, they're screwed, but they're not out of it yet. Shen is going to die, though. So maybe they're out of it now. And why did he die? Because he stayed too far forward, he stayed too exposed. This is, of course, a very special case against the red side. They do have Caston, just kind of like how the blue side has Twisted Fate. But you still have to show the respect for it. Even though it's easier for them to catch you out, that doesn't mean that's a good excuse to be caught out, as a lot of people seem to think. Cassian does the same old thing, man. He keeps going for these big plays, these big flashy plays, and what keeps happening? He keeps dying. You know, going for one for one is okay in this case because maybe they can take out the top and hit, maybe they can win a 3v3 or a 3v2 in this case, but still, it's these big dangerous plays that are making it hard for anything to happen. And Yankra just can't survive the Varus damage. Varus himself has gotten just way too scary, and he's now a big major threat. And they need the damage of Cassian, they need the damage of Vayne to really take him out. He went Blade of the Ruin King. Huh. Very few people go for that item. So now we're getting close towards the end of the game. I mentioned this before. What do you do in these big split push situations? You have to group up. You have to go at it as 5. They have Italy on the enemy team, but because of the exposed nexus, this means that a 5v4, if they do try and go for it on the blue side team, it's got to last, you know, minutes. It can last 20 seconds. The game could just quickly finish, and Italy having done nothing. So they cannot go for a split push, even if it's Italy split pushing in the top lane, because then the inhib is still exposed, the nexus is still exposed, and they don't have turrets to protect it. What is red side doing though? They're going on it one-on-one. They're going at it just one at a time. Different people. This time it's Nunu. Last time it was Vayne. Singe also showed up there for a little bit. And this is how you throw games. This is how you lose games. You have people just go for big, beefy, scary plays. These big, manly, look at all these cool things I can do plays. No one cares about the cool things you can do unless you're going to make it into a video and post it on Reddit. And that is how people lose games. You don't have to go for the big manly play. You don't have to go for the big farm, the big split push, the big cool Shen play or Singe play. You know why? Because if you do that, you'll get Twisted Fate ulted, Shen ulted, and you'll die. And you'll get taken out. Vayne's still alive. Vayne gets hit by the ultimate from Varus, has to cleanse out. Can she escape it? Doesn't have her flash available. She was pushed forward with only Singe for backup and far ahead in the enemy territory against a Shen, Varus, Lulu, Twisted Fate, and Italy combo, all people who can shut her down very quickly, or at least lock her in place. And what happens? Now it's a 4v5. The inhibitor is still down. Nobody took the top side inhibitor for the blue side team because they can never group up and take it. Now this game's very quickly just turned. That's a huge, huge dragon right there. Wow. It's an awesome, awesome skin on Cho'Gath. I'm going to rewind to that in the future. Well, now look at this fight. They don't have the Vayne. The Vayne who is 1396. Cho'Gath, he's supporty. Singe, he's also a little bit supporty. They're all pretty supporty except Cassian. And can he get the burst on to kill one person? No, he can't. They just have too much tank on the enemy team. And what's going to happen as a result? Now this is a 4v5. They don't have the sustained damage from Vayne. They're going down. They're going to lose the game. Singe goes down. Cassian's gotten taken really low. Nunu's about to go down. Nidalee does die. But now it's Cho'Gath and Cassian. Now it's Cassian versus 3 people. Vayne is back up. And can they 2v3? Maybe they can. Now they have to. This is a case where I don't care what the resources are. Go in, because if you don't go in, you're going to die. Or at least scare them off. Too much CC. And the Nexus, will it be surviving? Of course not. No way in hell. Varus ults nothing because he can. Because they just won a game. They just won a game where they had a naked Nexus. I just want to go back to that Cho'Gath. The big honkin' Cho'Gath. Shouts to big honkin' Cho'Gath. 10 comes down. No? Oh, no, we missed it. Missed it. Missed the big honkin' Cho'Gath. Look at that big honkin'. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my god, it's so adorable. Look at this. Holy crap, that is awesome. Okay. Enough of the big honkin' Cho'Gath. Now, how do you not lose solo queue games? Don't do dumb stuff. That's like the true guide. But you have to make big plays, but you have to know what's available when you can make those big plays. The classic example of when you can't make big plays is when the enemy has their abilities up. Let's say they have flash up. They can respond and flash out of your high damage abilities and escape. Alright, the big play is not going to happen. Maybe you can zone them from the turret. Maybe you can try and get them away from a space so you can get the objective, or maybe you can set them up for a kill in the future. But generally, you're not going to be able to make that big play if they have the resources up. You can set stuff up for the future, and that's why people will burn flash or will burn flash to blow their opponent's flash to set up a really cool gank. But that doesn't mean that you should always go all in, because if you're not going to do something with your opponent's flash being down, they might do something with your flash being down. Now, why did Cassidy die so much? He thought he had the damage. He thought he could take out Varus instantly time after time. The problem is the enemy team had a Log of the Solar, the enemy team had a Lulu, the enemy team had a Shen, the enemy team had Varus that bought more mugs, and the damage wasn't there for Cassidy. He had a lot of AP, Void Staff, Death Cap, Zonias, Sork Shoes. That's a lot of damage coming out from Cassidy. But the problem is he needed 2 salvos and eventually 3 salvos of his abilities to take out Varus, and well, he could never survive that long because he was going in first. So how do you not lose solo queue? This is, I'd say, one side of the coin. You need to not lose solo queue, and you also need to win solo queue. This game focused on not losing solo queue. How do you not lose it? Don't do dumb things. Don't go to that spot that you don't have vision on. Don't wander the enemy jungle when they have a Twisted Fate. It seems really obvious, but these are 1900 elo players. These are good players, and they're still being caught up on really obvious things. And how do they get there? Good mechanics. They have part of the building block. They have the fact that they can punish opponents, they can play aggressively, they can push forward. But they just have to kind of work on the don't do stupid stuff part. And doing stupid stuff, it happens all the time. People do it. And the imperfection actually makes the game more exciting. And if not, it would just be the perfect pro players just stonewalling each other for 70 minutes until one person makes a tiny slip up and something happens. And those games are tense, but they're not necessarily what every League of Legends game should be. But if you can avoid making the big stupid mistakes, and even though your teammates will make big stupid mistakes, even though your opponents will make big stupid mistakes, if you can try to minimize yours, if you're making one big stupid mistake per 4 games, chances are that means that you will win more games because you're doing less stuff to lose the game. Now, of course, you still want to try and make your own plays, still need to be useful, but you're not making the big stupid mistakes means you're not giving away advantages very quickly. Cassidy, he set up some cool ganks mid lane. He kept going in, though, and he kept dying. Well, that's all for now, folks. Adios, guys. I will see you soon.